सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै. Oh, sorry, I have to start with Sadashiv Samarambha.
No problem. It's okay, no problem. Continue. That's okay. Doesn't matter.
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Shall I go to Sadashiv? Sadashiv Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad Pada Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashakritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha.
/ 60 to 66.
Okay. Yatato hyapi kaunteya purushasya vipashchitaha indriyani pramathini haranti prasabam manaha tani sarvani samyamya yukta asita matparaha Vashe hi yasyendriyani tasya prajna pratishtitaha dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kamaha kamat krodho bhijayate क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोहः सम्मोहात् स्मृतिविभ्रमा स्मृतिभ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशः बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति रागद्वेषु वियुक्तैस्तु विषयान् इन्द्रियैश्चरन् आत्मवश्यैर्विधे आत्मा प्रसादम् अधिगच्छति प्रसादे सर्वदुःखानां
हानिरस्योपजायते
हानिरस्योपजायते प्रसन्नचेतसो ह्याशु
प्रसन्नचेतसो ह्याशु
प्रसन्नतेजसो ह्याशु
प्रसन्नचेतसो ह्याशु
प्रसन्नचेतसो ह्याशु बुद्धिपर्यविशिष्टते
बुद्धिः पर्यवतिष्ठते
बुद्धिः पर्यवशिष्टते
पर्यवतिष्ठते
पर्यावतिष्ठते Nasti buddhirayuktasya na cha yuktasya bhavana na cha bhavyartha
न च
bhavyatah
भावयत शान्तिः
na cha bhavyayata shantihi ashantasya kuta sukham.
Very good.
Slowly improving.
Thank you. Great. So, welcome everyone to the class, and we will just quickly go over what causes mental state of a constant disturbance. There are certain incidents or experiences or certain hopes or wishes, sometimes unfulfilled or want fulfillment, and they leave the mind disturbed for a long period of time. You wake up not completely anchored within yourself, you are restless in sleep. The whole day you may go about doing things, but the mind is agitated, it's disturbed. That was called as a sansari. This is a very identifiable notion. Sometimes there is one sudden incident that springs up, which makes a person disturbed, and that disturbance lasts for a long time. In other words, what is the cause of a perpetual state of disturbance? That, he says, starts with very innocent looking thoughts regarding a specific object or a topic pertaining to the world, what Indriya can conceive and perceive, what senses can grab. Regarding that, it starts with a very gentle thought, a very momentary, it could be a momentary like, it could be a sudden dislike, a sudden revulsion, a sudden expression of a thought, emotion, feeling. That first triggered all attraction, revulsion is centered on Indriyas. It's centered on the sense perceptions. The immediate notion of what I find desirable or not, based on which I conclude like or not, what I have seen as what pleases me or not, that sensation of pleasing or not pleasing is Indriya Sukha. Indriya ka Sukh triggers a certain kind of a atmiyata, a owning up of that pleasure now, because I have a pleasure. I've experienced a pleasure. Sudden pleasure, we are taking the context of pleasure here. Sudden pleasure that my senses recognized. I want to now identify with it. I want to hold it. I want to live it. We often use the words, I want to relive it. I want to regenerate that pleasurable experience. I want to redo it, etc. That idea that I want to relive it is what he says, Shastra says here, is dhyayataha vishayan, regarding the object of your pleasure. When you go on repeating to yourself, automatically develops. The mind goes along with the indriya, attaches with it, and thinks about it. Whenever you're quiet and silent, you find your mind wandering into that aspect, into that zone, and you find yourself thinking about that object or the person. This dhyayataha, about the vishaya, about the objects, has developed sangaha. Sangaha now is, as I just explained, a closeness with that perception, which is English translation of attachment. मन का इंद्रियों के साथ एकदम से संयम हो जाता है. They join. They are together. The mind and the indriyas have united. Because of that संयम, जुड़ जाता है मन. There is this ichha that develops, trishna that becomes. There is this repetition of the like, and I want to relive, which develops a kamana, a desire. And that desire, by the time it comes to desire, it is a state where you say, I want to experience it. I want to live it more. First was just an indriya contact. How long is an indriya contact? Any indriya contact. How long does it last? How much time frame is there in a indriya experience generated at the level of senses? A sense pleasure, what is the time frame of that? It's lasting. How much does it last?
Immediate.
Almost immediate. It is shanikam is the word. Shanikam means it is there now and then it suddenly is gone. Senses, as long as they can remain in contact with the object so long, so long, that experience is pricked, felt. By the time it comes to kamaha, how did it come to kamaha? That experience of the sense has come and gone. It is no longer there with you. But your mind is going on. It's dwelling on it. This dwellingness of it, even though the vishaya is not in your perception, may not be in your perception, but your mind is reliving it. Mind is thinking about it. Mind is remembering it. All these words put together, what that kamaha means now, I want to relive it more and more. I want to always have that sukham. I want to own that sukham. And when you are in the process of solidifying that sukham, you want that happiness. If there is someone who is seen to be an obstacle to the gain of that happiness from your side, you are pursuing that happiness, you are pursuing the fulfillment of the desire, and you find that there is someone you see as someone or something obstructing this progress of yours towards that object, to gain that object. Why do you want to gain that object? Because you want sukh. You want happiness. You have experienced that pleasure, that tick of the indriya, that sudden bulb jagta hai, as if, it excites. There's a momentary excitement with reference to sukh. Now you want it. You pursue it. Unknowingly also, the whole force of your antakaranam is focused on getting that object or person. This is a very important thing to recognize. The entire thought force goes to acquire the object. आपकी पूरी शक्ति मन की, that's why a lot of people who have a automatic thinking process going on without control also feel tired. They feel exhausted because the mind is always planning, scheming, desiring, wanting, etc., etc. As a result of which, this processing of happiness that one is engaged in, you're putting effort and so much planning, so much work you're doing, and then suddenly you've realized that either it's getting delayed or it's actually getting obstructed. You feel that somehow my effort is not getting reciprocated. I'm not getting my return back. That calm, from that desire, krodhaha abhijayate, anger is born. There is anger, abhijayate, there is rise of anger. Where is anger in you otherwise? If you were to get it without any obstacle, would anger have surfaced? No, there would be no anger then, because I have put my entire shobhana, adhyasa, that error of my thinking. I see an object pleasurable. I've put my entire energy on gaining that because I want it. And if I get it, I'll be very happy. Krodha abhijayate will not happen. So is that state of fulfillment my ideal state of fulfillment? Is that state of fulfillment what is generating me happiness? Going to be the happiness that I want? No.
No.
Because I realize that
It will come and go. It will come and go.
it will come and go. And also, you said it yesterday also, everybody's understood this fundamental principle. The minute I get my desire fulfilled, it is not satiated. My mind is not satiated. I'm not fulfilled as a person. I want more either of it or of something else now. But the process of desiring continues with different objects. This desiring process, only on obstruction, is krodhaha. That means every anger. What are the different shades of anger? Has anybody ever thought about it? What are the different shades of anger? You may have experienced it around you. You may have seen it around you. What are the shades of anger? What will you classify as anger?
A feeling which comes out of frustration or an incomplete desire.
Correct.
Or,
frustration.
upset.
What else?
Upset.
Upset can be many things. Frustration. What else?
Irritation.
At times,
Irritation. Excellent. Irritation, frustration.
also at times because of some superiority complex or those, when you feel somebody is lesser than you or something and says, even if the other person is right and says something. But
Correct.
Insecurity.
That is also correct. That is also correct. Insecurity. Very good. Active and passive. Okay. Anger is active and passive. Depression and indifference is not so much of anger. Excellent. Violence. Last resort. The last step is violence. Anger is recognized by irritation. A desire interrupted. The minute there is a desire, in any action that you have, there will be a desire behind. That desire, unless until you have made it nishkam, you are pursuing that action, it is sakam. It is with desire. Now that desire is seen, anything can happen. You wanted to reach on time and you couldn't reach on time. There was traffic. we have our facial expressions all the time, because there are a lot of us, especially when you are a very active person, you plan a lot and you know how to do it, and sometimes it's not you which is stopping. You are able to do it, but there are other codependent factors that you realize are not as efficient. Now, for no fault of yours, the action cannot be completed, because those codependents on the action are either slow or have not understood, etc. But your desire to complete that action gets interrupted. So the first seed of anger that comes is, there is irritation. Irritation has also many shades. It starts with a mild irritation. It's an irritant. It keeps rubbing on you. When that obstacle continues, by your perception, it continues, that irritation starts growing, it becomes frustration. It frustrates you now, because your desire is hanging. It's not getting met. You need to meet the desire, but somehow the obstacle that is perceived is now not getting crossed over. There's no solution to that obstacle that you can see. So the frustration builds up. Now, when that frustration also builds up, you're still trying to resolve it. But very soon that frustration turns into, first, loud voice, anger. You are trying to raise your voice to get the attention of whatever be the cause of that obstacle, etc., etc. And when even that fails, that also must go for some time. It becomes anger. And anger, if it continues to last, means it becomes, now by that time, your organs of action will completely get uncontrolled. So that anger, to release the anger, you take the support of your physical organs of action, and that's how physical violence steps in. Otherwise, yes, you can say, you use your voice, you use being also a means of action. You say hurtful things, you can say, you are using hinsa. Hinsa, in any form, is an expression of, not always, here in this context, that violence is the last step of your anger. Wherever these shades are felt within us, what is the pointer behind? What will you learn from this verse? How do you apply this verse, or how do you see it functioning what do you resolve from this verse?
To see
So
the
much.
source, the desire which is being obstructed.
You will, the minute you realize, I am beginning to get irritated, that irritation itself is the seed, is the first expression that you will have to catch it. If you don't catch it, at that point, all these steps of kamaha to krodaha, and krodaha will now become further downward falling. All these will quickly take one expression after another. They'll grow in you. It is impossible not to have anger. And anyone who is violent, whoever has reached the stage of violence, is just directly showing the strength of desire that they perceive as getting obstructed. Is it a genuine obstruction? That is subject to examination. Sometimes it is, sometimes it is not. Most times it is not. But the minute there is irritation, yes, absolutely, you withdraw and examine your desire. What desire are you holding? That desire must have an object of fulfillment that you see. That expectation generates from there. You must have a desire for something, and that for something is your object of expectation. That will meet my fulfillment. That expectation is centered on that object. That is seen as an obstruction. And so irritation is already an indicator. I give this example very often. When you're driving and you want to turn right, what do? Do you suddenly turn your vehicle?
You give an indicator, then you start turning quickly,
Which
slowly.
side indicator do you give if you want to turn right? You give the right side indicator. You don't give a left side indicator and expect the other person to understand that you're going to go right, which happens, of course, many times. But if you have to go right, you will take a right indicator. Irritation is an indicator that there is a desire behind. That desire, right or wrong, correct or not, legitimate or not, I have to examine that desire. And the one who wants to grow, as he is going to say, as he says, if you are interested in your growth, Shastra says it in different places, I'm just putting it into a sentence. Your interest will be to identify the flaw in that fulfillment of desire, so that you become free of the need to fulfill the desire. I'll repeat this. If you're interested in becoming peaceful, you are interested in your self-maturity, self-growth, you want to abide in a Shant Swabhav. If you want to abide in your Shanti, then it is nothing wrong in being irritated. No, that's fine, because it's an indicator. It's already telling you it's actually very nice, useful. Because without that indicator, you wouldn't even know there is a desire you're operating on. So that indicator is now telling you already, okay, it's so natural to me to desire and seek my happiness. I see myself getting irritated. I need to go back and look at the desire. Which desire is it, or of what nature that desire is? Is it one desire? Is it interrelated desire? Many times you'll find that that desire actually has many chains. You have to go backward and backward. For that desire, there'll be another desire. For that desire, there'll be another desire. And that it actually goes back few steps into different desires. It's like branches of a tree. When you start tracing a fruit from a branch, you realize that fruit is on a branch, and then that branch is to another branch, and that's how you come to the trunk, and then that's how you come to the root. In the same way, one desire will be based back on another desire sometimes, not always. Sometimes you'll identify straight away, but sometimes it is not straight away. हमारी इच्छा कौन सी है? Most often we don't recognize it easily. Most often we don't, because it's not a process of valid teaching. Means nobody's taught that this is a valid way of living. So we are not easy to look into ourselves. We are not comfortable looking at our own selves. We are not in acceptance of our own flaws. It is easy to find flaws outside. It is easy to project the obstacle outside because you don't have to think. That projection of a problem outside, obstacle outside, at the very initial stage of irritation, one can go back and examine the desire. What am I repeating? I'm repeating that inquiry should be in such a way that I am finding the flaw of fulfillment of that desire. Is that sentence clear? That I must find the dosh. इस इच्छा में मेरा दोष क्या है? By the time you start examining the flaw in the fulfillment of the desire that you are seeking, half the desire force will disappear. half of it, more than half sometimes, and if it's a very small desire which was very little irritation and you caught it at the right time, you will realize that you are freed of the desire straight away. After that, what is the test that you are free of the desire? Whether it is fulfilled or not fulfilled, both of them are not going to impact you, affect you. You are free of it. You may still want it, but you are not, Trishna nahi hai. You're not obsessed about it. It's a likable thing, no harm. If it's a legitimate thing, no harm. Absolutely fine to have it. But your mind is now okay. Okay with having it, and it's okay with not having it. It's nice if I have it, but it's okay if I don't have it. And Shastra would say that if this process is done, that indicator is there. Dhyayataha. First step, I find myself thinking about objects that I like. Stop there. There itself it should be stopped. विषयों के बारे में ज़्यादा indulge होके सोचना. When there's indulgence in thinking, not in action. I'm not yet pursuing it. At the level of that, it's mind, it's just indulgence. Indulgent thinking. That's all there is. That indulgent thinking that I am entertaining, if this much you're clear on, what will be the flaw in that? What will be the flaw at the level of the fact that I'm thinking? I have an indulgent thinking.
You need to stop thinking about objects, you're saying, right, Deepti ji? Any object? Yeah, so basically stop, maybe divert your mind somewhere else, because the more you're going to think about the object, the more you'll want it.
Yeah, if you divert it, it'll be only replacement method. That doesn't work for long. We are now talking about Shastra's method, which is permanent. From what I just said, if my desire is what is seeking fulfillment and I have found it myself lingering on pleasurable thoughts. You know, when you sit by yourself, if something has given you pleasure, you start smiling also. Then people around you know, something nice, you're thinking of something nice, because your bhav on the face also changes. If you do not correct it, Hanji?
Take
the flaw in
the thought to the higher level when
Right.
such desires come.
See the flaw. So suppose see the flaw. So if I say that, oh, this is the phone and something, maybe my mind is lingering on the phone, I should just say, okay, उस phone से क्या ही हो जाएगा? मतलब what is it that I'm going to get out of it? It will vanish. It's a going happiness.
Absolutely. Dwell on the flaw of that fulfillment of the desire. Find that I am actually projecting happiness on the gain of the object. When I project my happiness on getting an object, isn't that a flawed method already?
Yes,
Correct.
short-lived happiness. Very short-lived.
Correct. You think it will give you happiness. Correct. The mind has projected, absolutely right, Shobhana. You did that, Shobhana, pleasurable thing, you thought about it. That was fine. But now that I see that this object is going to give me, say that phone is now giving me happiness, going to bring me happiness, I need to correct the thought itself before it starts dwelling. If I do not make a counter thought, I have a thought, I liked a phone, I saw a phone in someone's hand. It said, oh, nice. That nice, if I stop, fine. It's nice. And not only nice, it's nice that that person has it. Will I develop a desire?
Depends, Deepti ji. What if you, till the time you don't say, I want it.
No. So if you say, look at the thoughts, look at the thought flow. I see a phone in someone's hand and I say, oh, nice. But the minute I say nice, because I have all this understanding, I know that I'm not supposed to linger on this nice. Nice ho gaya na, ab nice laga indriyon ko. You can't stop it. Indriyas are involuntary function in a way. Automatically the perception is getting formed. So the minute that nice got judged, oh, this is nice, I immediately say, it's nice that that person has it. If I say it is nice that that person has it, it's nice that,
Yeah.
I have not associated my I, want, need on that phone. I'm happy that that person has it. And it ends there. Now my Indriyas thought it was nice. But if I am not in knowledge of all this process of how I become a miserable person at another point of time. Now, if I am not aware of this, I see a phone in someone's hand. I do not know I must counter it. If I don't counter it, then something he has said, Vinashyati, last step, he has already come to. But I don't know all this. So I see a phone in someone's hand, I say, oh, nice. What will be the next thought? Go step by step.
I wish I have it.
Okay, I wish. Before that, what will you do? Because वो एक अब subconscious
Start
बनना शुरू हो.
visualizing the phone and its features.
Okay. And you'll ask the person more details about the phone. You'll start gathering as if you're gathering information. कितने का है, कहाँ से लिया, ना इसका GB or whatever it is, इसका वो कितना है, उसका कैमरा कितना है, उसका etc. etc. उसकी features क्या हैं. Now you think you are only getting information, but every information that you're asking has what associated with it? What thought has associated with it?
Desire.
It has
Wish.
other subtle meanings to it. Going towards one point,
So
some achievement you want.
You're making a case of why you want the phone. Like you start telling that your mind, oh, it has so many GBs, I have less GB, all of that will start.
So very soon now, what have you come closer and closer to the object? See how close the mind is beginning to get to the object? The first perception was distant. That phone was outside, far off in someone else's hand. It's building up desire, correct? There it was outside, there it was. Now what happened to it? When you're lingering on it, you're allowing dhyayataha. You're allowing that dhyanam, chintanam. And this chintanam is not reflection. This chintanam is repetition of thought. Varam, bar, उसी के बारे में सोचना. Now when you are saying बार उसी object के बारे में सोच रहे हो, and it may look like I'm asking, I'm finding, and then धीरे से you find now the mind is becoming closer to that object. Atmiyata means now you are developing some sort of a connection with that. You're forming some sort of a connection with that. It's building proximity with that phone. It's still not yours. It's still, you've done nothing about it. It's still just there, but you find that you've come closer to the object. Now supposing that friend's gone apne raste and you have come back home. Now what happens to that thought? It's already now entered your mind. अब एक बार कोई विचार आ गया, this is a siddhant. Tie it tightly to your own subtle body. It protects like anything. It's a great savior. Any thought that has got entertained cannot get deleted on its own. अपने आप से नहीं जाएगा अपने. एक बार कोई विचार आ गया, अब ये या तो अपनी गति खुद बनाएगा or else you as an individual must be strong enough to become free of the force of that thought that it may build up. By itself, there is no auto delete. Maximum it can do is it will go behind the other thoughts. So you will have more and more thoughts. That thought will go in the background. There is likely that you can forget about it, and it may arise again in another occasion, another time. If it was not a very deep thought or want or associated, you may forget about it, but it is still now there. It's taken an entry. Entry pass मिल गया उसको. Once you have thought in yourself, once you find a thought has recognized a thought within yourself, that's called alert at the first step. What is alertness? I have to be alert. My waking state means remaining alert to the nature of thoughts that I am encouraging, that I associate with, that I hold on to. Those thoughts, especially when they are coming first to the point of where am I getting irritated? Where am I finding myself frustrated? Where am I desperate? Where am I now? If I don't get it, I will, Hindi movies, you hear the dialogues. मुझे नहीं मिलेगा तो मैं मर जाऊंगी. That kind of a dialogue. Yeah, मर जाऊंगा. That kind of a thing. Means you're not thinking you will actually die, but you feel your existence will be futile if you don't get it. Your existence will be useless. Very good. Creating urgency to get it. Yes. You're all getting it very well. I'm happy.
Deepti ji, I had a question.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, talking about desires, again, as part of sansar, there are certain things that we do seek, and as per my understanding, the Shastra also allows us to seek certain sansaric pleasures as long as they don't cause disturbance. So, then if you do want something, how do you get it without it being a disturbance to you, without indulging in it? Because in order to get it, मतलब अगर किसी को कुछ फोन चाहिए है, या तो शास्त्र बोले कि ये मतलब you can't want the phone, but if you want the phone, you need to indulge in the thought, but you also don't want to be disturbed. So how to navigate that?
If you need to fulfill, you want a phone, but you don't want to be disturbed by it, then you just have to be very, very buddhi oriented. You have to remove the rasa from the need of the phone. I am using a phone, but I make sure that my phone is used for utility. Without the phone, how can I take a class? At the moment, my phone is one that is going live. If I don't have an equipment which can which can give me a operandi, how am I going to be able to conduct this action? So the minute the object I'm seeking, I must divinize it, I must sublimate its gain. The minute I get it, I was given by my brother the first generation iPad. He kept telling me, I kept denying it. For 1 year, more than 1 year. I don't need it. iPads were so new, I didn't even know whether I will have a use for it. Because at that time, there was no concept of these online things. And it was probably just going to be a means of entertainment. After a year plus, it still came to me. Now, the instant response was, I have to only use it for what it is going to make it worthy. Especially, it's a gift. I have not even pursued it. It's come unasked. It's come unasked after I have resisted it. That means now that it has come, there can be a very great dependency on it. Because it's unasked, it's a gift. I can dwell on it, I can linger on it, I can enjoy it. But if you know that you're going to only utilize it for what that equipment is made, there is nothing wrong in the phone. I said it a few classes ago. The phone is not screaming that I'll be an object of your happiness. The phone has a utility. I can have a utility, but gaining of that phone will make me happy. That dependency and that need I can correct.
So यहीं पर just seeking some more clarification. The phone तो still is something that has some utility. But what if something doesn't have utility and is only desired for enjoyment, for the purpose of enjoyment? Say, for example, a video game. What if I want a video game? Now, I personally don't play video games, but this is the best example that I could think of. And I'm not disturbed by its lack, but I want it. And I realize that I need to save up some money to get it. So now its lack is not causing disturbance, but the fact that I'll have to invest my mind into it because I need to fix some things up in order to get it, inherently leads to indulgence into the thought, and then that leads into disturbance caused by its lack. Maybe inherently I'm not disturbed by it.
Correct. But you've answered
how
it
do you-
yourself. Inherently or not, inherently it's not a cause of disturbance now. But any such desire, in fact, this is the first point. Is this desire purely for entertainment? And if it is for entertainment, Dhamma is absolutely mandatory. Entertainment will have to have a time limit to it. Entertainment means it is going to weaken my mind. Uska purpose hi wo hai. Let me understand that. I cannot say that it is not going to create a disturbance. No, that's fooling myself. Because I cannot see a disturbance today out of it. But that it will, which was a Candy Crush when it came. Anybody knows of the Candy Crush game on the phones?
Yes, Deepti, it was very addictive. Deepti, it was very...
That is what causes addiction. What is in a Candy Crush game? People started having tendinitis. Tendinitis is, by pressing all that, your thumbs, people had started getting tendinitis out of it. It's a game only, and it's available free of cost on your telephone, on your phone. You didn't have to seek it outside. They presented it as an advertisement in front of you. You have time, you think it's a relaxation in between. A little time. You think these games are made to give you relaxation. The games they are business for someone. Because they are business for someone, unless until they create that addictive factor in it. And that's playing with the psychology. That is weakening the mind. That's psychologically trapping you. That trap that they create psychologically in these words in Shastra here terminologies, you are weakening your mind. Weakening your mind, or call it strengthening your mind towards the object. Means now at some point, it starts by saying, okay, I'll play 5 minutes. And then you reach a point in that particular 5 minutes ke baad, and then you say, no, okay, one more round. One more round, oh, I have time, okay, one more round. That one more round is detrimental, is what these verses have taught. That thought that looks very innocent. Okay, one more round of pleasure. It's harmless. After all, I'm traveling. Supposing I'm going in a vehicle where driver is there and I'm sitting doing nothing. What most of us, by the time you're in 30s, now in this generation, 25s and 30s, so many people have neck spondylitis and back postural problems and this, and most of them have come because of what? Your age doesn't call for pain. And yet because there is this indulgence of what it's not designed for. So to think that something is harmless, I'm going to put a very big statement here. To think that something is harmless is the first trick that the mind plays. That's where we need to examine, is it truly harmless? Let me find out. It can be harmless. Is it truly? Let me go through the buddhi route. Let me bring my buddhi and look at it. Let me take the help of my buddhi. It's my equipment after all. Let me use the buddhi and find out whether it is really harmless. If it is, fine. Then I need to draw a very strong line, a demarcation. I have to be firm till it becomes my habit. Means I have to be firm. If I have said 5 minutes, it will not be 5 plus 1. Not 1 second over. I'll do 1 second less. In fact, that's how I used to say. Something else I used to say. If it was walking that I needed to do, that walking meant if I can walk 10 minutes, I'll say I'll walk 12 minutes. A good thing, I will do a little more. But something that is not necessary, if I've given myself 5 minutes of that video game, I'll do 4:58. A little less. What matter? How does it matter? It's dangerous to go over. Less will only give me better, no?
So can I just ask last follow-up?
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, would that यहाँ पे तो rather than talking about the indulgence in that enjoyment, मतलब I'm also a little confused about the chase of that enjoyment. तो इसका मतलब क्या होगा कि अगर suppose वो video game वाले example ही लें, because it is purely for enjoyment, should I not save up only because I should not make
Yes.
efforts and chase something that is for enjoyment? Or is there a way to go about that chase in a way that it doesn't disturb me?
If you can do without it, your first thing should be, first step should always be, if it's just pure enjoy. Tomorrow a new video game will come. Within 6 months there'll be a new video game. All my chase, by the time I would have chased for that video game, a new game would have come. Is it worth that chase? If I can quieten myself and say, I don't think, and 2-3 times you do, 4th time your mind will say, I don't need it. And the best part is, I may not be able to communicate this very well, but I'll try. The best thing is, let me put it in a Shastriya term first. आप जिस desire का त्याग करते हो, willfully, विवेक से, कि ये मेरे को चाहिए तो सही, but my vivek tells me इसमें effort डालना is futile. And I will put that effort into where I need to put, which is more closer to what I should be doing. Nature has some provision that object comes to you when you don't seek it. That desire will get fulfilled. Like I said, my iPad I didn't have to buy. My phone I don't buy. It comes. Object will reach you. And whatever pleasure you get out of that, then that is a sanctioned pleasure. But you did not chase it. So what will you chase is the question. That discernment has to come there. Because effort to आपका limited ही रहेगा. Time and youthful time is very limited time in life. Where will I direct that time and energy? That I will have to discern. So if there are certain things that are so temporary in nature that they will change their value tomorrow, is it worth my following it? Even if I feel a little unfulfilled today, it's okay. It doesn't matter. कल को वैसी वैल्यू बदल जाएगी इसकी, सोसाइटी में ही बदल जाएगी. So even if I didn't get it, how does it matter?
You just shared an example of flaw of that thought. You said na video game will change the next few days or few months. I think that was the flaw of that thought.
That is one of the flaws. The flaw that I am attempting to bring you to is, which will dilute the strength of the desire and not let it build up, is that I'm projecting my happiness on that object. Isn't that very illogical? The flaw is that I am seeing the object to give me something. ये थोड़ा सूक्ष्म है. It is subtle. You need to think about it to identify that this is a flaw. Because the minute I free myself from that flaw, means I see the flaw and I free myself from that acquisition force. Once I've freed, I can generate some action to get it. That's okay. Or I will be wise enough to say, remember the verse, I don't know. I think we've done this. Yoga Kshemam Vahamyaham. Where does that verse come? I think in the Karam Yoga portion of this chapter, he said, I will take care of your Yoga Kshema. Nobody remembers? And remember where it is. But the law is, the principle is that if you are not seeking it, if you don't seek an object of your pleasure, and if it is desired, means if it is legitimate, if it is within the realms of dharma, Niryoga Kshema Bhava Arjuna, what verse is it? If it is in the realm of dharma, rest assured, it will be served to you on a platter. It will come to you. It will actually be served you will be surprised and amazed. Verse 45. Good. Thank you. The object comes to you, provided. Now, it doesn't come if your hands and feet are kept directed in another chase of another pleasure. That lower pleasure is given to you, fulfilled to you when you are chasing your higher aspect, your higher duty. When you are preventing that force dissipation, say that chase to earn, to save money, to get that video game, supposing, and I renounce that effort. I need it, but I renounce it. I am not putting effort here. It's not worth my effort, because my effort I'm going to put where I'm supposed to be now putting. And that where you are putting, you have kept it on your duty level. And you focus entire effort of yours there. Because this is higher, the lower gets fulfilled. हमने वो verse किया था ना. The lower desires will be fulfilled. You'll be free of them.
Why seek the talab when you have the ocean?
Why seek talab when you have the ocean? आनंद ही तो आना है ना.
Also, if you have trust.
Sorry?
Also, if you have trust, if you're destined, it will come to you.
If you take that is also one of the ways, yes. If it is destined to come to you, it will come to you. But then, you will then not be freed of it completely. That is like one of the ways in which you can, in some ways, silent yourself. Of course, it's one of the things. You know, if it's destined, it will come to you. But people
That's
wait
the faith
very
that you have in a higher purpose, right? That You trust that. And when you trust that implicitly, you know what is right for you will come.
Correct. That's
No,
right.
I think I've seen this law functioning. I wanted a watch. I wanted a smart watch, Deepti. I was looking for it. I looked everywhere. And then I left the desire. I said, forget it. I don't want a watch. It came on a platter to me. I mean, I just
Absolutely.
said, I don't want to pursue the desire. It's not worth my effort. So I
That
just left the desire.
this is quote unquote. This is quote unquote. Thank you, because it is everybody's. It is 100 out of 100 times it works. You want something, your mind you find says that I need it. You start inquiring, you start exploring, but then at some point it says it's not worth my effort. I'm just giving it up. I'd rather do something that is more worthwhile. And invariably it comes on a plan. It gets fulfilled. It's fascinating. It's like I keep telling everybody, it's like it's living a life of miracles. And nobody can answer these. Nobody will know what is the causation. You didn't seek, you know. Yesterday I said, okay, first, chalo, let's get some flowers. And I said, not worth. I'm not spending money or my thought there. Today morning I got flowers. What joy in getting it just like for the sake of it. It's an example. Isn't it so much more joyful that, I had a thought, I thought I should get them. And I said, no. And you genuinely give it up. Only when you genuinely give it up will it come. If you still think, Nani, because I'm giving it up, I will get it. No. So far, okay? Is that clarified enough?
तो ये बेसिकली मन को समझाने की बात ही होगी कि मन को अपने
मन को समझाने की बात हो गई. हाँ, मन को अपने समझाना और किस तरीके से समझाना कि वो सही डायरेक्शन का हेल्प लेके समझाना है.
जी राइट.
सोच हमारी सही चीज के साथ जुड़ी होनी चाहिए. उसके सहारे हमें मन को समझाना है.
ठीक.
Good. So far, so good, everybody?
Deepti ji, one small question. Like when we get obsessed with any object or any way, we lifestyle or anything, so is it because what is the main reason? It is like we are so influenced by the outer society, or it may be our inherent nature, or is it the
Say that again. Can you repeat this again?
So when someone becomes like not only me, like I see like a lot of people around also, we are as a society, we are becoming more and more obsessed about certain lifestyle ways or so this is a general observation like I was having lately. So wanted to ask like what is the reason? It is like are we not pursuing our respective goals in life, or the focus should be on something else and we are not on the lower goals? Or is it the inherent nature or the influence, general influence? So I wanted to ask.
They're all combinations. If the question is why are we as a society becoming obsessive about objects and
Yes.
anything that I see my happiness about, it becomes like an instant obsession to want it. It is from Shankara, there is only one reason possible, and that reason is non-thinking person. Any thinking person, विवेक शक्ति जब आप इस्तेमाल ही नहीं करोगे तो जो मन में विचार आते हैं, उठते हैं, वो विचार तो इंद्रियों से जुड़ के ही उठेंगे. I see something and I see an object, obviously either that indriya says I like it, or the indriya says I don't like it, I like that one. You go to buy washing machine, it's a need. Now you will have to do some which one. Now if you are not clear about what are the advantages, disadvantages, and buddhi operation is not there, you will go, oh, I like that color, the red color. Oh, it's so nice. This one is so nice. No, I don't like that. this play of likes and dislikes, which is only raga and dvesha, which is only strengthening the mind to remain attached with the indriya. That obsessiveness comes only because I see instant pleasure as the only goal of life. I depend on instant pleasure. So I seek avenues and methods for instant pleasure. See, 50 years ago, 30 years ago, the society in India at least, our ear was intercepted with certain religious festivals. Religion had to be included in it. But they were festivals. Found reasons to have festivals after every few weeks. Now, what is the actual thing that's happening the whole year? New Year
Everything is
celebration,
commercialized.
year-end celebration, New Year celebration. Now next celebration will be, you'll find next reason to celebrate. Now, if you remove the pleasure with the higher, I'm repeating myself, festivals are meant to give you enjoyments. All indulgence is allowed in senses if they are disciplined. It's like saying you eat, but you overeat once in a while. You can't overeat every meal. Something like that. Those festivals were means to now enjoy, have fun, have joy, have good food, wear new clothes, buy new clothes, get objects of your desire, etc., etc. But those festivals also had inclusion of some religiousness associated with it. Is that right or wrong?
Yes, Deepti, and it was simpler, rooted, very rooted. Even if we
Correct.
look back at our childhood, which is like I feel we are fortunate that way.
Correct.
Like before liberalization, we see our childhood.
Correct. So
But
now,
our generation,
absolutely. Now, if you remove the religion part of it, what is the mind looking for? Only pleasure. So the force of the pleasure seeking is so valid. It's got validity today. Instant pleasure society is giving a validity. Why it's giving a validity? Not because it's useful for you and beneficial for you and healthy for you. Not because it's auspicious for you, but because it serves the society. How does it serve the society? If your whole lifestyle is going to be economically balanced, then consumerism has to be a part of your life. And if consumerism is a part of your life, the weakness in you to, what is that called? Shopping? Which shopping is it? There's a term
Window
for
shopping.
it.
Window shopping.
No, not window shopping.
binge shopping.
Binge shopping. Correct. You will binge shop. They want you to binge shop. They want you to binge on objects. Because and what is this? I'm told this all the time. You're generating employment, you're generating economy, etc., etc. So you're allowing people to live more, to fulfill their desires. Now, if your society is going to be constructed around this value, I'm not saying it's a wrong value, but it will come with certain conditions. And what is the condition? You are making an individual more and more vulnerable to the fulfillment of the desire. And if they are not fulfilled, Shastra, we don't need Shastra really. I don't need to use the word. This is pure knowledge. People have Shastra ka apna image. This is pure knowledge. अगर आप इंसान को इतना डिपेंडेंट कर दोगे आनंद के लिए और उसको अगर आनंद नहीं मिलेगा, what are all the acid cases in the world? Why is adharma growing so much? Why is a war not ending after a year? How much has been lost in society? Are these all coming from the fact that they are beneficial for humankind or for life in the world? From anywhere, if you see, it is avidya which is powerfully ruling, it powerfully rules. It's ahankar which imposes and asserts. And once this ahankar asserts, ragdvesh asserts, you are helpless if you don't have Vivek Shakti. And that is why he said in the verse, क्रोध जब आता है ना जिसको उचित अनुचित की स्मृति भूल जाता है. So example given in the bhashyam is, even to their own, in the bhashyam, guru को भी वो अनुचित बोलता है. Means it can go to that extent that all limits get broken very quickly. Is that okay?
Yes.
So, yes. That's true. Mindfully done, the Vivek comes quickly, and so you lose the attraction for it. Absolutely correct. In fact, that is the place where you start seeing. If you have lost the attraction for it, now you're beginning to feel free of it.
Deepti, एक last small point. Just an example, it just occurred to me. For example, we go to some place like social circle में, like for example, they are serving food in silver utensils, like all the time, very this. And you don't want that. मतलब अपनी लाइफ में उस चीज का कुछ वैल्यू है नहीं, but आप किसी को, just an example, I was just trying to figure out an example. तो आप किसी के पास 5 बार गए, उन्होंने बार बार आपको चांदी के बर्तनों में खाना खिलाया, आप ऐसा like how do we do that, like it doesn't influence you, like as in वो चीज तुम्हारे अंदर ना आए, जैसे वो आपके पास आए तो आपको ये ना हो कि हमें भी उनको चांदी के बर्तन में खिलाना है. सो दैट इज द लाइक काइंड ऑफ थिंग, लाइक ऐसे ही हम इन्फ्लुएंस हो जाते हैं ना आसपास के लोगों से, जैसे कोई चीजों से, वीडियो गेम से, वॉच, जो भी है एग्जाम्पल्स, तो हम कहीं ना कहीं इन्फ्लुएंस ही तो है सारा.
Anybody remembers an exercise we did in a workshop when we did Tattvabodh? I know it's long back, some of you may not have it, but...
Is it related to this example, Deepti ji? Because I remember few exercises, but not all.
Related to this, what we apply here. Whatever you remember?
I don't remember the exercise. I just remember that you had asked us to recap all the activities we do in a day. That was one. The other...
with reference to perception, there was an exercise.
Like you showed us different pictures of objects and you said which attracted us and why. That was one I remember.
Is it related to Neti Neti?
No, not Neti Neti. See, that the mind should not be influenced. The question is, we'll stick to the question. We'll listen to the question again. The question is, the mind is always going to be influenced. Let's take it for granted. That's a Sanga dosh. इसको कहते हैं Sanga dosh. Sanga dosh means आप जिस कंपनी में रहते हो उसका दोष चढ़ता है आपको. वो दोष होता है. Yes, absolutely correct. Yeah. Yes. Good. 2 people have got it. So संग दोष तो है ही है. Now, if you do not want that Sangadosh to carry into you, this example of saying someone serving you on a silver utensil, then
So
automatically,
one way, I didn't do Tattva Bodh with you, but one way that I think is you need to stop associating with yourself with people like this. That has to be a witnessing effort to
but
take that.
sometimes, supposing it's a close relation, you cannot. Supposing. If you can, that's wonderful. That's correct. But I'm just presuming if the question is such, it's basically to, that's not always going to be a practical reason. Let's find a reason that we can have more control over without affecting the environment. What can we have more control over? The exercise we did was end perception with perception. Very good for everyone who's got it. 3 of you, correct. Ending perception with perception. What is that ending perception with perception? That exercise came from these verses, these 2 verses. It was to build up. Unfortunately or fortunately, I do not know. The Tattva Bodha did not carry forward. A lot of you did not carry forward the study because the original plan was to make it systematic so that there is build up of the thought and then you will start relating these verses with that. But that's okay, no problem about that. Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsaha. This you can apply in everything. What is it? If I let the thoughts multiply in myself unheeded, this is the chronology they will follow. So I have to stop the thought from multiplying, occupying my space, mental space, on its own, without my deliberation. They cannot have, correct, they cannot have a place without my permission. The thought cannot dwell without my permission. That's like Sthita Prajna state. Finally, he's going to say that now. So the minute, supposing they have served, in the example, now there are 2 things. Sanga dosh to hai, naturally you feel obliged, I should also. Firstly, I should also is your interpretation. Did they ask? If they are expecting, then as Neetuji also just said, and if you can avoid such people. But I would say, you have to be so having a self-value of who I am, what I am. This character comes if your efforts are constantly being put in the direction that you are supposed to put. You gain a strength of character to represent yourself as you are. Take it or leave it. If someone's unhappy with who you have served, I didn't ask. Thank you so much that you think I'm worthy of that. I accept it, I acknowledge it. But if you come to my place, I give you what I can give you. Krishna goes to Sudama. How does he go to Sudama? He's not expecting all that. So, of course, an extreme example. My own self-worth has to be correct for me. I don't have to be,
Also, Deeptiji, in life, there will be always somebody who will have more than you. Always somebody who will be. So if you're going to compete, this competition is going to be endless.
Absolutely.
And no point that will occupy unnecessary space in your life.
Absolutely.
So might as well deeply accept it. It's fine. Someone will have more, someone will have less.
And if it breaks a relation, supposing it breaks a relation, if that's the ground of a relation, then as Neetuji also says, and I think that's common sense. So we won't dwell on it. We'll stick to the principle here. Is that clear?
Yes,
Do I have a
Neetuji.
question further?
No, I got your point. Yeah, definitely. I also agree to it. And like more like sticking back. Like this needs a strength of character, like to be who I am and what I am.
And you
like
should be
being,
unapologetic about it.
yeah. And
Because it's
that I
factual.
think,
It's a factual state.
yeah.
It's not a projected state. See, when we project our own status or our own state, that projection is there is a particular term. Pretentiousness is a flaw. You're not pretending, more or less, either way. What is, it's honest. And only on such grounds should anyway equations be made. And everybody has someone with whom the equation will be, one person with whom and 99 people with whom it won't. That's the way somehow equation seems to be, plus minus of course. आप सब कुछ ठीक भी करोगे तो भी there will be 99 people who will find a flaw with you. Okay?
Yes, thank you.
So far we have reached anger. We have got angry now. So now when we are angry, what happens next? He says, because of that anger, it's like a boiling point. He used the word Jvalanatmaka, that boiling point there. Because of that anger, because of the anger, the disturbance, it's like a volcano, or there is an overflow of that desired thought train. It's a thought process which is overflowed. And therefore, if your buddhi was even kind of nudging from within, ये गलत है, नहीं कहना चाहिए मुझे, नहीं करना चाहिए मुझे, अभी चुप हो जाते हैं, अभी नहीं कहते हैं. Even if there is the knowledge of right and wrong that you have by your own past experience gained and it has worked in your life, because the mind has got so angry, anger has surfaced, that there is vritti pramsha, sammoha first. You're confused. There's delusion. Because there is confusion, and in confusion, even angry people, आप चलते रहते हैं इधर से उधर. You have to, mannerism is also very unique at that time. It's different at that time when there is anger. Physical body is also responding differently. Because of that, he says, the memory is gone. Confusion and all the right and the wrong values that you have held, first they were mixed up, not available, then the very memory for them is submerged under this, so not accessible to you. It's no use to you. Minute it's of no use to you. That buddhi which is guiding, supposed to guide you, allow this life to be directed to the right course. The chariot example in the Kathopanishad, allow this life journey in the right path, because this is a fact. Till your moksha, you are not disappearing. You are coming back again. So your life journey has to be kept correct so that you do not accumulate wrong experiences to be lived at another point of time. That only buddhi can direct in you. Even when people from outside tell you, you may follow one or twice, it falls off. Even within Guru Shishya, it falls off. Because it's difficult to follow. Outside anybody say anything, that's why whole knowledge in our Shastra is educate people. Teach them. Let their buddhi guide them. Let them understand what is right and wrong based on the eternal principles. What is truly right and wrong. So that buddhi itself is not available. Once the buddhi is not available, you will crash down. You will come to the lowest point of your expression of life. What is the lowest point of expression? That's called pranashyati. Your whole potential for doing anything good will be lost. जीवन में कुछ अच्छा करने की इच्छा भी होगी ना, वो भी आप कर नहीं पाओगे, बिकॉज मन पूरा इतना राग द्वेषी और कमजोर हो गया होगा कि सिर्फ वही आपसे काम कराएगा. Only your ahankar and rag dvesh will propel you to work. Even if you want to do something good, it won't work. You'll find yourself not having the capacity to do good. It will come in very less kabhi kind of a thing, which is not a human birth. So Shastra says your capacities for Param Purusharth, you can straight away pursue the highest. Now you can pursue. But for that, this raga dvesha formation needs to be checked. And the way to check it, the best way to check it, is to not allow them to build in the first place. They say, no, prevention is better than cure. There is a verse, it seems, in Viveka Chudamani, for those who know who study or who know or have heard somewhere. I will try and get the reference next time. I don't remember the verse, but the example many of you may have heard. The verse itself says, when a ball falls down the ladder, आपके हाथ से ball slip हो गई. You are playing with the ball. You are on a 3rd floor, and the ball slips. It goes to the first step. Once it goes to the first step, what is the nature of a ball?
Keeps rolling down step by step by step.
Will it only be step by step?
No, sometimes it can take a bigger jump.
Not sometimes, mostly. If the force was there, if there was a force there,
yes,
it will go the first step, then it will go to the 3rd step, then it will go to the 5th, so the 6th step, and then if there is enough momentum, it suddenly rolls down by gravity. By gravity, effortless, it will fall down. Gravity will pull it down. When is it easiest to collect your ball?
First step.
First step. Excellent.
No
that
momentum.
Is dhyayataha. Absolutely. Bounces unpredictably. Takes many leaps. All correct. Dhyayataha is the first step. Be alert, be watchful of what your mind entertains as thoughts. You have to be watchful for the rest of them not to follow. Otherwise, this has been popularized, called, yes, the ladder of fall, but we don't really, it is a buddhi ka nash. What is your biggest learning? If as an individual, आपकी बुद्धि का नाश हो गया है, तो you are as good as lost person. You will be no good to yourself or to people around you. You will be, in fact, you will be a problem for them and, of course, for yourself. So, buddhi is something you have to be very careful. And everybody has only a limited capacity of buddhi, because we were not trained to develop it. You can have very sharp buddhi if you're developed at a right age. So, buddhi se hi your life choices have to be made. And for that to function, your raga dvesh should be manageable. And for them to be manageable, the disciplines of shama and dama, and automatically then all the other disciplines follow. Now in the 4th 64th verse, I thought we'd do it today, but now we'll do it next time. In the 64th verse, he's showing the vipreet of this. This was how you fall. But if your raga dvesh is kept free, then the fourth question that Arjuna had asked, Kim vrajeta? Vrajeta Kim? That question answered, he gives here in the 64th verse. We'll do it next time. Any question on this topic? These two are very important. And you must, I would request or I would suggest, if anyone wants to assert this knowledge and make your points and notes, if you want to send, you can send them by email. Revise these two verses, because these are your first direct ways in which you can start the journey of raising yourself. Even if we are not at the last step, how will you find more and more peace within yourself? When you know this, you know what to do also. There'll be many instances that you will recognize in life here afterwards. If you have this, you should not forget this. That's why I'm repeating it. These two verses should be memorized. Minimum these two verses. You should dwell on it, repeat the verses, reflect on the verses, and you will find that they'll be so useful. It's like somebody's given you a magic pill. There'll be so many occasions in life that you will realize, oh my God, let me not entertain this thought. And you will be able to create a counter thought to dilute that thought and hang on to the counter thought till the diluted thought has gone into non-existence by the force of the counter thought. So you identify with the counter thought.
Deepti ji, we had done it in Tattva Bodha also. Not letting the desire form at all, rather than entertaining the counter. It's best trying to stop it there, first stage.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. That's why, as I am just repeating myself, of course, sometimes I do feel, I wish the whole thing had carried, but as good as it's carrying is also great. Because you will realize that Shastra is one statement. It's all management on our part to understand that one statement. It's all self-management. And that how to manage, and these are proved formulas. That's why Ishvara Mukham Uvacha, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Okay? You have a question, Siddharth?
No, Deepti.
So we'll end the class.
सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महीं महिषा गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यम् लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु काले वर्षतु पर्जन्यः पृथ्वी सस्यशालिनी देशोऽयं शोभरहितः ब्रह्मणा सन्तु निर्भयाः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरि ओम दीप्ति जी
Hari Om.
Hariom ji. Hariom
थैंक यू
ji.
सो मच
And